Hola, chicas. Welcome to Encuentras Your Voice podcast, where Latina voices are amplified by sharing their powerful journeys from ancestry to authenticity, giving voice to generations past, often silenced or erased, while showcasing the aha moment of our guests when they embraced their authenticity and soared into success. I'm your host, Consuelo Crosby, here with you every Wednesday at a new time in this season 8. Given our expanding global audience, con gusto, we are dropping new episodes just after midnight on Wednesdays. So no matter where you are in the world, we are together, leaning into the valuable stories that resonate with you, adding a place of belonging, and sharing resources that may help make life just that much easier. Plus, meet your next best amiga after hearing their story every week. We are winding up our Women's History Month celebration this week, and I hope you have gained so much from the women on the podcast who are redefining our spaces. It took these innovative and intelligent women to break the mold of how things are done in our everyday spaces, and today is like no other. This episode will have you stand up and act, believing that you are capable of anything, whether you've had a major setback or disappointment, or even just feel stuck in that same old. The episode inspires to keep improving to be your most authentic self. Kelsey Nicole Nelson comes from Black excellence, from a lineage who survived the slave ships, endured painfully difficult lives to not just survive, but thrive, generation after generation, honoring the greatness of icons in the Black community. Today, Kelsey honors her lineage by always pushing forward into spaces that may not welcome her, bringing a stellar version of herself because, as she says, how do you want to be remembered? As the person who gave up and quit? Or, and I quote, do you want your life to be one of true testimony of tenaciousness? Kelsey is a multi-award-winning journalist and renowned speaker who followed her passion of sports as a live broadcaster and reporter, covering some of the premier sporting events, including the WNBA Finals, NBA Finals, and the Super Bowl, and is a title beauty pageant queen. But it's not about her glory for Kelsey. Her legacy is all about advocacy for her students at George Washington University who come from all over the world to attend her sports journalism class, to speaking at the D.C. Council to approve Lisa's Law, providing new luggage for foster youth who only had plastic bags to keep their belongings in. It's the power of using your voice to make change in the world. Tenacious doesn't do her justice. It's almost a given for this trailblazer. Kelsey is all about ensuring you feel seen, loved, and rising in glory to be your absolute best, authentic self. Lean in, get cozy, and get ready to meet your next best amiga. Welcome to Encuentras Your Voice podcast, Kelsey. We're so excited to have you here because your litany of life accomplishments is just amazing, and I'm just so curious to know how it all started. So happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm so glad we connected. The power of social media. Thank you just so much for the kind words. Life has surely been a journey, but I've enjoyed every moment of it. So I'm just thankful to be here with you.
Yes, I think our audience is like going to eat everything up because it's so eclectic. You are just so multifaceted. But as we like to do here on the podcast, we honor our ancestry, bringing us to this current day and give them voice in the time when they might not have had it themselves. Would you like to share some of your family story?
Yeah, I think a quote I live by is our future lies in our past lies in our future. And I'm just so thankful, that obviously all those that came before me honestly paved the way. I'm a writer by trade as a journalist. And, one of the lines I'll never forget I wrote when I was younger, was I am the dream and hope of a slave. And, I think the ancestry question always means something special to me. So my family's from the deep South, like Mississippi, Louisiana, that New Orleans area. But honestly, I think one of the things I've been trying to kind of find is like my heritage, right? Because I can only trace back to the United States. Obviously, everyone knows the history because of slavery in this country. There's a lot of African Americans, right, that only know so far in their history because not all this was recorded, right? We weren't counted as people, back in the day. So all that to say, I'm thankful, though, that my family did teach me early, though, just Black excellence. And so I know and you just think about it. And I think when I think of my ancestry, the fact that my ancestors survived the trip, when you think about the slave boats from Africa, and a lot of people died on those boats, or either committed suicide because they didn't want the life that laid before them. And even just about slavery, life expectancy of a slave, you were lucky to hit 40, right? Because you were working so hard. So when I think about like all the odds that my ancestors had to overcome, it's honestly, Consuelo, what inspired my work ethic. Like I always feel like I can't be lazy, right? I work hard. I have to, right? It's been passed down to me, and I'm here for a reason and a purpose. And there was just too many sacrifices. I think as I pay honor to my ancestors, I thank them for their sacrifices. I thank them for their dreams and their beliefs, and their resilience, right? To keep carrying on. Because obviously that's what bore my parents, that's what bore my grandparents before them, and kind of on and on. So, and I also think, through that struggle, I hope now that we're realizing, the struggle didn't go unnoticed, and it wasn't for a reason, right? I'm thankful that my ancestors gave me the stick to carry, to just hopefully carry some greatness on and rewrite a history of hopefully the injustices and wrongs that were done to them, of me trying to hopefully be an advocate and work to make things right, which is why diversity and pushing diversity initiatives, is so important to my story. Just thankful for the motherland of Africa. For, again, just born a resilient, strong people that has been born in me since day one.
Oh, you gave me chills about line 3. It's just when you speak to the reality, the humanity, when you talk about these are your people, your ancestors, this is family. And when you put it in such context, it should make us stop. It should make us stop and be with you in that moment. So thank you. Thank you. And I am intrigued. I would love to see you find your journey back.
It's here. Yeah, I'm getting to work for the first time this year, so I'm super excited.
Oh,
and so, it's just the beginning, again, of hopefully be able to find some of those missing pieces, right? That that the family book just didn't have.
Well, there you go. Which is why we do the podcast, to give opportunity to give them voice, to give them presence in the current day, and as a living archive for them, not to be lost or overwritten, erased, as we have seen so much of any of our ancestors be.
Yes.
So thank you. Now, I spoke of litany. When you talk about hard work and dedication, you have proven result. And I just don't even know where to start with that, aside from you have such multifaceted interests, talents, a passion. Just briefly, you are a live sports broadcaster. You're a sports journalist. You are a titled pageant winner. You are a professor. You are a speaker, an event holder. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, people. We go on and on and on. But I'd like to focus in on one core point and then breathe out with everything. Because as a Latina in structural engineering, the only woman forever, the only woman.
Yeah.
And it's not a topic that many women can join in conversation with you with. But you, sports broadcasting as a woman, yes, you can speak to this. How did you decide to go into this, knowing that there weren't many, if any, women already doing it at the time? What was your idea behind that?
I have to give all props, to my parents, honestly. I grew up a daddy's girl, just me and my sister. My dad had no boys, but I think the thing that he wore into me early was like, whatever you want to do it. Like, put the work behind it and you can make it happen. I think, I always tell people, like, it kind of goes back to the ancestor we were talking about. Like, I grew up in a household where all I saw was Black excellence on the walls, right? I knew the stories.
Beautiful.
Right? Before
Beautiful.
Black paintings, Marcus Garvey, like all these legends, these icons, right? You think about the civil rights movement. That's what I had around the household, right? And I heard those stories. And so I think my parents introduced me to history early. I was inspired early. And I wanted to pick up that baton, carry that torch, of the for me. And so I think for me, it was my parents introducing me to that early. My dad was like a natural living, breathing historian. Always documentaries of things. I was always reading. They were always getting me these books again about history that I wasn't always getting in school. And so I think for me, when it comes to sports broadcasting, to your point, I would watch TV and, I love just the power. I remember I would always ask my parents, like, how many people are these folks talking to on television? And they're like, they're going into everyone's household. I'm like, everyone's household. So like everybody's watching them. And I think I was always just geared towards that power. But I think the beauty of sports and, you think about what sports has done. Like one of the guests I had on my podcast show that I do was Sam Bam Cunningham, the late Sam Bam Cunningham. And he's one of the reasons why college football integrated, in certain schools. There was a time when, they didn't want Black players on the squad. And that's just one example. You think about the Olympics, right? And the fist, right? There's just so many examples. I think for me, and you think about it, I think sports is a parallel of society.
Yes.
And I think sport, though, also has the power to advance society. Like sports is the one thing it seems like everyone kind of sometimes puts down their differences because we love the game and we love winning, right? We love that competition and thrill. And so I think for me, just knowing the power that sport had, how many people sports touched. And then I was a natural born athlete as well, back in the day. I was part of telling that story. And so I think it was my parents that helped inspire it, but also just looking on TV and like, I didn't see enough melanin. And so, my parents always said, like, you change that you don't see. And I'm one of those people, I'm not just going to say it, I'm going to put action behind it. And so I think early on when I didn't see it, I put my little 3-year-old mind to all right, well, this is where the journey is going to start. Whatever work I need to put in to get there, I'm going to. That's kind of why that energy is the same energy that burns inside me, still till this day. And that relentless work ethic burns inside me. I still haven't reached the goal, of what I didn't see. And so I think my parents played such a role, but then I also think, again, just my environment. Sometimes you don't realize how much you're inspired or touched by things that, are on your wall, right? Or things that you pass every day, right? Around the neighborhood you grew up in. I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood. And so I think for me, though, like I said, that was powerful Black excellence was what I was born into. And I know I'm a role model in this space. And I think that's something I wanted to see when I was growing up. So to be able to be a part of the solution that I did see, it means something. So I think my burning and yearning for sports broadcasting came from what I didn't see, but also a passion, a doorway and opportunity to create kind of my own unique lane in that as well.
I love that. Yes. It's just walking back through that. I really understand how you expressed it.
Yeah.
That perhaps when you were growing up, surrounded in such beauty and reinforcement, both verbally from your parents all around you, on the walls, in the books, it never occurred to you that you couldn't do something.
Right.
You saw all these greats coming before you.
Didn't occur. Because it's funny, right? Because you out in the world, that's where you start to hear you can't do this or the no.
Right.
It wasn't inside the household.
Right.
It was the world that will tell you what you can't do. And that was always my parallel, right? Like I'm at home, you're inspired, right? You're motivated. And you go out into the real world and there's so much negativity and telling you what you won't accomplish simply because of how you look, where you come from, who you are. And so I had to balance those two. But my burning in faith and my belief in myself came from my parents. It didn't come from the outside world. So when I heard all this, it just inspired me. Like, oh, they said I can't do this. Well, let me take what's in here when I'm hearing at home.
Yeah,
push that even higher.
I get that. That's so interesting because a direct sisterhood in sync with the first-gen Latinas.
Yeah.
The first-gen Latinas, you're at home and you're living this great life. This is an amazing life with all the cultura. And the first time you have to walk outside the door, go to school, you're like, wait, what? What do you mean I can't? What do you mean I shouldn't? What do you mean? And it is. And for the people born with it, which you definitely are, for the people born with it, it's like, oh, yeah, no. That's not going to happen. Not in this world, right?
Per plan.
Sorry, not sorry. We're going to take that to a different level. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. But I love your fire.
Oh, thank you.
Obviously, if you are on fire. The woman who's on our episode today, Mariri, she is on fire. I'm just loving this female empowerment that's walking in his faces that people said you don't belong.
Yeah.
Right.
And I still hear that honestly till this day, right? It's not like it's not like it stops when you're younger. You know, I'm reminded unfortunately every day, you know, there's people who don't want me in this space. But, you know, for me, it's like, you know, when you know you were put on this earth, right, to do something.
Yeah.
And I'm a God-fearing woman, you know, I have strong faith. Again, that's going to reach higher than anything that anybody could tell me. Because usually people who are telling me stuff aren't doing it quite themselves. But it's so much here for people to be negative, right?
Yes.
And then also I think it's a defense mechanism, right? When sometimes when people see growing, they want to do everything in their power to stop, right? That kind of good path and that good faith. So it's up to you, again, to like hold that power. It's one of the reasons why I share, like, in my growing up, I'm a Boys and Girls Club kid. And one of the reasons why Boys and Girls Club is so special for me.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I volunteer with them. And in a world where there was so many no's, they were kind of like one of the first outside places where I actually heard you can, what you could do. Okay. And I think that, like, for me, words matter, right? Like, it's part of the reason why, like, when I work with a lot of groups now, you know, I remember being called it when I was growing up at-risk youth. And I always tell people, no, you can't call risk at-risk youth. You say at risk of greatness, of anything. They're at risk of just being great. Because when you just say they're at risk, it's already a negative connotation that you have on them, right? And already you think they're going to fail. And so failure are. So I think a lot of wording that we use too, and just how we talk about young people and where young people come from, it needs to change. And then again, like what you say to them, like, it really does mean something when you believe in somebody and when they feel it, right? When they feel those actions behind it. It wasn't until I got to, like, to the Boys and Girls Club, you know, and the teachers who, again, and the mentors that I had along the way too, that, you know, really said, you know, Kelsey, you're going to be something in life. We're like, and you're not just going to be ordinary. You're going to be extraordinary. That I didn't want to fail, right? I wanted to live up to those expectations, not just for them, but for myself, because I knew I could. So again, I think all those different, like, communities or neighborhoods, like, back, and it did do something, and it played a role right along your journey.
Yeah, oh, that's beautiful. I love how you reiterate that in the current day. Like, we have to really sincerely be in a place, especially to the youth, having faith and bringing that positivity of tune out what's being said, what's being shown, what's being, and be that positivity for them. Yeah. But you still took on, that is still a big role. It's still a heavy expectation you put on yourselves, even though you had the fire. We call it el fuego. You had the fire. Was there a moment in your life where you went, oh, gee, I don't know, this is getting big, this is getting heavy? Yeah. Was there something that you pushed through to get here?
Oh my gosh, all the time. Like, even till this day, like, but I have those moments where I just kind of have to unplug sometimes. I think people hear it, but they don't realize what all goes behind it. Like, these aren't just, you know, they're just work behind it.
It is a lot of work. But you don't walk into the room and it's bing.
But hours as everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
Hours.
Wow.
Like, I have 4 internship programs, right? I'm running with me. You know, I have my students every Tuesday and Thursday, right? I have people at work. Like, I'm managing projects. I had different jobs, different roles. And all of these roles require me to be the best version of me. I think the hard thing, though, about it is I don't always get to be the best version of me for myself. Like, I was just talking with my friend, like, I was like, I don't know the last time I took a vacation for just me. But, you know, I think for me, honestly, what pushes and propels me is new opportunities that I get. So, yes, there are times when I'm, like, working hard, I'm doing everything right, but I'm not seeing, like, the growth aspect, meaning, like, I always want to see, I'm a broadcaster, right? I want to get invited on top shows. Yeah. You know, I want my opinion to be valued, right? I want to get new freelance gigs, right? Get more money. And there's some times where I feel like it's, like, I wouldn't say droughts, but it's kind of like more steady and I'm kind of still doing the same thing. And at those moments, I'm like, am I supposed to be doing this, right? Like,
right.
So I think for me, though, it's that affirmation, because every time that happens, and then something does come through. And I think it's a reminder, like, you never know who's watching you, right? Or who you're impacting or what you're doing. I think a specific example of time where I really just kind of paused and was like, is this for me? Because I'm in Washington, D.C., right? This is like my hometown area. I'm from the DMV area. And I, of course, when you're from the hometown, you want to work for the hometown team. And so luckily I've had a chance to work football team here. But years before that, I came this close to working with our hometown basketball team, the Washington Wizards. Like going for an interview. I think I crush it. Like, when you crush it.
Yeah. The energy. Yeah.
Yes, you're like, okay, like, I'm happy. And they're like, we're going to bring you back and show you the studio set. So I'm excited.
Oh, yeah.
I had this back.
Yeah.
I go home and I feel good. And like a week goes by, I don't hear anything. So I'm like, okay, they're probably just busy, good. Then like 2 weeks go by and still nothing. So then that's why I send that friendly, like, hey, just checking in.
Hey.
But it's ever look for something, that email. And then I still don't hear anything. I'm like, another week.
They ghosted you?
Literally ghosted me.
What's happening?
And then I see somebody else get the position, right? And so I didn't, not only did it ghost me, I didn't get it. So at that time, I questioned my self-worth. I was like, I'd been covering this team and I can't even work for my hometown team. And I had to have a moment. And I did. I had a cry moment. And I'm not a super emotional person, but sometimes those emotions build up. Yeah. I think that's when I had to get to a point in myself where every no is turning me on to something else. So reverse that word, right? Just reverse spell to the word on. And I said, it's on to something else. It just wasn't meant for me. And lo and behold, much bigger opportunities came along. But it's hard, right? I'm a person like, you should be emotional to things that happen. Like, I'm not a robot.
Right.
AI hasn't been injected into me. Like, I have emotions and feelings. Like, I think social media creates this facade that, like, everything good happens to people. And no, it's just like most of us are really going to broadcast the good moments.
Yeah.
To be vulnerable, right? Sometimes it broadcasts tough or bad moments. But I think that moment, again, was like, and lo and behold, here I am still in DC with me. Jobs and opportunities, right? So it's a reminder that just because you don't get that one thing, it doesn't mean your self-value or self-worth should go down. It just wasn't meant for you. And when it is your time, I think it is going to be your time. And likely for me, that one job that I got turned down to turned into multiple jobs I either have had or currently hold in DC in my hometown, So that's just
little snaps. But it's that faith, having that faith in your universe, trusting in your universe, listening to yourself.
Yep.
Knowing that, okay, it's not my time.
Right.
It's not my time. And then manifesting. Yeah. Manifesting.
Manifest.
This is what I want. Okay. If this isn't it, you're going to seek higher, which is really different than a lot of people would respond. Because a lot of people would go, oh, I overreached. Oh, I went too far. Oh, I'm not good enough to be in that place. So what do you respond to that? How do you not go to that negativity? Yes, turn it on. But what does that really look like? Do you go like soul searching and then talk yourself in the mirror and go, no, girl, you're better than this?
For me, like you said, manifesting, I have dreams and goals that have pushed and propelled me since I came on my mom's womb. One way I'm going to find another way. I have, and I tell people all the time, on my back of my computer, and I know this team just lost in the playoffs with the Ravens, to quote from Lamar Jackson, and it says, nobody can just work harder. And I know that might sound harsh, right? But in reality, a lot of people don't care about your situation, right? At your job, productivity. They just do, right? I think your dreams should care about how you react to situations. And so I had that in my head. Nobody cares. Let's just go back to the drawing board and work harder, because I know one thing I offer, and we've talked about it in this interview, is my work ethic. No one is going to outwork me. And my work ethic has continued to propel and provide opportunities for me. And so when that one didn't happen, I had to, again, get all the tears out, get all the bad stuff out. Well, one of my favorite poems, what happens to a dream deferred? Too many people have just given up on themselves, right? Or on opportunities. And that puts you in a whole different lane. So again, you have to have that mindset. I know it sounds mean. I know it sounds harsh, but like, nobody cares. So how did I get put on to that? Honestly, I think to answer your question, it's a mindset thing. And how to train your mind. I train my mind for greatness. And to achieve greatness means that however I need to get there is how I'm going to get there through my work ethic. Integrity I carry each day with me. So that didn't happen. Okay, it wasn't meant for me. And then honestly, sometimes you have to think, you know what? I'm better than an opportunity. I can offer my skills and talents to somewhere else, if they didn't want to appreciate them, and you get put on to something else. I think, again, it's how you train your mind, what you think of your self-worth and your self-value. And then, again, how do you want your life to be? Do you want your life to be just a thing where you get down every time and just give up every time? Or your life to be one a true testimony of tenacious, chasing the next thing.
I love that. When you said, do you want to get down on yourself every time? That alone, when you said it, sounded exhausting.
Yes.
Like getting down on yourself over and over again, having to pick yourself up over and over again. Better just stay here, right? You're here. Okay, so you didn't get it. Don't fall because you still have to go back up.
Exactly.
Let's stay here and keep rising. You remind me very much like myself. I don't think I have that work ethic, but the need to move forward.
Yes.
I call it like the sharks. Sharks have to keep moving because being sedentary just, it drives you nuts. It's like, well, what am I doing? I'm just doing the same old thing over and over again. There are some people that really enjoy the forward motion and motion in and of itself. You're going to go try it. Just for that motion alone is exciting and it's new and you don't know what's going to come of it.
Correct, right?
Right? So you have that, let's go try it. Hence this eclectic background, which, okay, I want to dive into which came first. What was the first go after in your little life? Because I'm feeling, one, were you born early because you just couldn't wait? You're like, Mom, I got it.
I was born early. It's so funny you say that. I mean, you wanted to see the world.
Right? I've got things to do, Mom. Sorry, I got to get out. Yeah. Do you remember what was your first, even if it was a little kid, what was your first thing where it's like, I want to do that, but you had no clue and you just went after it?
Honestly, I think entering the public speaking realm, like, people will talk to me now, but there's no way you were ever like shy, but I remember, again, I was always a writer and I'm a person that has a lot of thoughts, like I'm the person, people after mine sometimes, like you need to talk slower because my mind moves so fast. I'm trying to keep up with my mind. But I think when I first got into public speaking, I remember a moment very vividly from my childhood, but I think my first oratory contest, which I actually did bomb. Oh. I was so nervous. And so, by the time I got there, my nerves were just going and I looked out and I couldn't remember what I needed to remember. But I'm one of those persons that can ad-lib on the fly. So I just ad-lib, but it was super short and it was like nowhere near where it needed to be. But I think that moment, and it stands out just because, again, greatness is my bar. And I was embarrassed for myself because I failed myself. Like, I knew the stuff. I just let my fear go because I was just so scared about how I would project onto the audience. I was like, I never want to feel that way again. Like, to not put my best self out there. So I point to that just because of guidance. If I had given up on oratory then, I wouldn't be broadcaster. I wouldn't be public speaker.
Oh, yeah.
With class teaching. And so I think how I reacted to that, and I just never wanted to feel, I was like, I'm never going to ever feel this way ever again in my life. And then, of course, I went back to the drawing board and was like, how do I get better at my nerves to do what I need to do when it comes to speaking? Because I love the power that speakers have.
Yes.
It's something magical and special when you can walk into a room and capture and garner everyone's attention. How do I get there? And there was people that crushed it. I'm like, I want to be like that. How do I get there? And so I think that moment just, it stands out to me because it was kind of like a moment, I think, like a make or break moment for me in my mind. Because I could have easily said, I never want to do public speaking again. This is going
to... Which a lot of people fall into. Like, no, one and done. It's not for me. A one and done is not for me.
And I was like, no, I'm going to do this again, but I'm going to do it better and right. And it's going to be memorable. So again, I just had to realize you just have to be you and do you. And I think great things will come.
That is the focus. That is our podcast tagline, from ancestry to authenticity. Because finding your voice out of all you come out of all you have to endure for who you are. And trying not to bring attention, because out there in that world, we talk about leaving the house, you are facing it and you just don't want conflict.
Right.
And you don't want to cause commotion. You don't want to bring attention to yourself, and you could lose yourself.
Right.
Making the moments where you want to go after what you want really hard, because you're not like you at that moment. You're not using your authenticity. You're not using your authentic voice, and you gave other people the power
And you can't do that.
You can't do that.
It's your power. Like a podcaster, I still give up my mic. You never relinquish your power.
Yeah, right.
It means something.
There it is, because that puts it in a simple form, because I think everybody, but not everyone's going to be a sports broadcaster. Not everyone's going to be in front of the camera. But everyone has been in that awkward middle school moment where you just froze because who you are is going to come under attack for whatever reason. And then, trying to manipulate it in the moment.
Very hard to do.
I appreciate that technology was not a thing. There were so many moments. Oh, so many moments.
But young people now, and I do think that makes it a little bit harder, right?
Absolutely.
Right, at least before, you didn't have to worry about, like, your mistakes, like, being magnified almost 100%.
Right.
Social media, anybody can see it. And now when you think about videos that go viral, those ones, right? Of somebody tumbling or I think, wasn't the first viral video that Charlotte takes a fall? I don't know if you remember that video.
I don't know.
It was like the first kind of like viral video. It was on YouTube. And literally a woman that's on the table that she shouldn't have been standing on, and she like fell. And people watched this video like hundreds of minutes of times, right? And of course, like, you could laugh in the moment, blah, blah, blah. But like, that's what and now it's like, what do you do when your failures again can be broadcast? And it's
But at that time, in that age, I want you to speak to that young middle-aged person, that the mistakes happen, things happen, accidents happen, everything happens.
Yeah.
What would be that first talk? What would you tell them to leave it behind, to not bring it forward into their future? Just leave it behind and move on when it is such a hard age.
I think for me, and just knowing I've always been driven by legacy, my high school yearbook quote was, "What we do in life echoes in eternity." I would tell my younger self, what do you want to be remembered by? And I would tell myself that because, especially in school, that age, you think about how people like think about you.
Right.
To be remembered as the girl who did the worst in the oratory contest, like ran off, or if you want to be remembered as, honestly, the young female, that took her time, did the oratory, paused in that moment, got herself together, and delivered what she knew. So I think it's what you want to be remembered by. Like, if I could go back, I would have paused in that moment after I tried to be somebody else. I said, I apologize. Like I just said, I did at the speech. Can I please do what I came to do, what I prepared to do? And I would have delivered that. So, I think I hear a lot of times, people always say, well, remember that. I hear that, but for me, again, because we live in a social age, I think that's easy to say, but is it truthful, right? Like, it was a recorded oratory contest.
Right.
I don't know where that video is going.
Right.
For me, it's like, well, I'm going to remember those. Like, maybe she messed up the first time, but she came back and she did it again. And knowing what I know now about work ethic and people wanting you to get things right, right, is quick. I think that carried me a long way. Like, I think a lot of people would more so want the person who owns a mistake and doesn't give up, rather than the person, who kind of runs away from any challenge and never wants to do it again.
I love that. I hope that goes out there widely, gets back to the young people, because I love that moment of understanding that people do have your back. Yeah. And again, there are bullies. Unfortunately, we know all too well how much, the bullies are able to come into your life.
Yeah.
But, for the majority, people, they want to see you do well. They want to support you. They have your back. Therefore, find your tribe. Right? Yes. Go out and find the people. What was the area in all the different facets you've experienced it where it was most difficult to find that support, where it was most difficult, you felt most alone in it?
I think, honestly, in the broadcasting realm, I think I naturally thought my support would come from women. But I think because this industry, unfortunately, hits so many people against each other to make you think there can only be one. I think this was the industry that was kind of harder to find in terms of, I thought it was going to immediately be like, all the women were going to band together, right?
Yeah.
Because we know, how important it is that we're here.
Yeah.
And then it was more like it was hard to get help from them, because I think they saw me as a threat or competition. And I felt like we won, instead of the mindset like we can all win, or as we say in DC, everybody eats. We can all eat. And so, I think the broadcast realm, honestly, was the hardest one to kind of find that tribe. So naturally, men had been the first ones. I had to get mentors and people that kind of like looked out, because I think more so on their side, they kind of saw me more like as a little sister that they were helping, right? Cousin, right? Something like where the woman kind of like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. And then like, you know, never wanting to like follow up, you know, grab a coffee, grab a lunch. And so I think it was surprising for me at first, but I think unfortunately that's how the industry just made someone feel like they couldn't help somebody else. So I think definitely this industry was probably the hardest to kind of like find my woman tribe. When I first started.
That does, again, hark back to junior high days, where that's where females, unfortunately, in society learn to see each other as competition, rather than leaning in. And there's more of us. We have more money. We have everything going for us. Lean in, ladies. Lean in and stay with the power. Support each other. I love that. Yeah, we all eat. Right?
Like, we can all get through this. And I hate that. I think unfortunately it's still that way.
Yeah.
You know, and not just even in this industry. I think it's, you know, many industries in the world, right? Like, think about it. Reality TV is number one for a reason. People like just want to fight. I mean,
it's just strange. Yeah, I mean, a lot of men's dreams, but mud wrestling's still prominent.
But that's what people like, and you think about it, right?
I don't like thinking about it too much, but
how do we change that narrative and show no, like we can actually be stronger together, you know, use different skills, tools, and talents, and again, all win and all see the beauty and called success in life.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Yes, we need that. Yeah, and a little louder. People in the back, we got you. Like, simplify this. It's going worldwide. In your broadcasting, you speak of interviewing on your podcast, and I'm thinking in moments of broadcasting, you might be interviewing players or coaches.
Yeah.
What was your most, one of them, I'm sure you've had many, what was one of your most surprising interviews that you didn't see it coming with what they shared with you?
Oh my gosh, there are so many. That's a good question, because I know I'm thinking back like through all the interviews in my head. And I will tell you why I do love doing interviews. Is the fact that you learn from every interview. You know, I'll actually talk about what I just did. It hasn't been released yet, but it will be released soon. And it was with a woman named Natasha Kami. She's an NCAA Division I referee. She started a whole
Wow.
And again, I think I was more surprised because I realized when I was talking to her, though I've done sports for a decade, I've never talked to an official, like, you know, never had an official on my show, right? Like, when we're talking about officials in broadcasting, if there's a call that they made that people didn't agree with, right? Or like criticizing
in the moment. Like an in the moment.
Exactly. And then when she was sharing her journey to be an official, it really was much like an athlete. And I just had never thought about it that way, right? And then you think about it like...
You still don't think about it.
Things and how they get paid of like 1099s and like... It was just kind of fascinating because I've never looked through that lens. Who really knows what an official does? What do they do in their off season? How are they assigned to conferences? Again, this is like kind of the nerd.
Wow. Yeah, I'm geeking down with you right now. Wait a minute.
It's amazing, right? Like,
right?
Nope. You just see them come to games. You might yell at them for a little bit, or like for them, but they do a call for you, and then you call them again. She was multifaceted. She's invested in the team in the NBA Africa League. Like, again, I just never thought about all these possibilities. You know, how they're able to build community and unity amongst each other. Again, in another, you could say competitive field, right? They all want
I can't imagine. Even getting into that one, I think,
that's incredible.
I can't imagine that's a gentle entry. No.
And another field that not enough women. No. Right? And so I'm excited already to become like the next referee.
Absolutely. I'm going to listen to that one. I'm so intrigued. Because I think in that moment we were describing it, I always feel like the referees, they're just above everything. They're above the game. They're above the coaches. They're above the players. And you don't really view them as people. And, you know, it's just like, you have no power over that person. They are the ultimate world out there. So
have the control.
They do.
Person. And so, like I said, until I really got to sit down.
I love that.
And like speak. And so it was supposed to be 30 minutes, turns into longer because of course, this was like, wow. And I want to get the questions I know people would have. So that's the beauty of interviewing. I think is honestly that you always have that aha. So like that you just maybe just never, knew that you would have.
Yeah.
And I think, again, it gives you just a different perspective of the world.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I love you reiterating as a podcaster yourself.
Yep.
That regardless of our different roles in life, our different passions, we do have this commonality of just being human.
Yeah.
And that we share each other's life experiences in that being human. And that from every person you are in contact with any person sharing their story, you will be able to take something away from what they're telling you about themselves. Not even their experiences, but about themselves.
Correct.
That inspires you, that guides you, that makes you feel included, embraced, all of it.
Yeah.
To really get the blinders off and take everyone into your personal tribe there. And it's like learn from them. I love that. The two things you brought up, well, one I'm bringing up, the beauty pageant. Now, you're in a very male-dominated field. You're surrounded by all genders of athletes. But then there's this beauty pageant. Now, again, we tend to think that's assigned to a certain personality. Surely one that's not aligning with everything we've heard thus far.
Yeah.
Where did that intrigue come from?
Yeah. So remember the story I told you about messing up at the oratory contest?
Yeah.
And remember I said I wanted to get better at public speaking and not getting nervous and controlling my nerves?
Oh, no way. Okay.
One of the things I had to do, and I'd watch pageants on TV like I always loved how they were given the opportunity to answer the questions on stage. So I challenged myself. I was never like a beauty veteran girl, like I'm a sports girl. Like I still have scars.
Yeah.
I played sports. But I thought the beauty in a beauty pageant was it gave me an avenue for people to see me differently. I thought it could help me again with my public speaking in terms of like, again, you're on stage and you don't know what the question's going to be, right? You can practice, you have to answer in a certain amount of time. But I think even more so, I thought the power that you have again with the beauty pageant was special. And then also, I'll be honest, I needed money for school. No kidding. Needing money, thinking about my future, wanting to get better public speaking and knowing that these women had a platform to do it.
Yes.
And then I think also, again, just the power that you have, right? When you're a beauty pageant queen, everybody wants to have you at their events and their venues, and you have power to do a microphone and you get to say your platform and what you want to say. I was very passionate and still am about education. That's why one of my groups now is Books Breaking Borders, Books to End Educational Bankruptcy. And I had my All Women Are Beautiful campaigns, kind of going back to what we were doing. I'm just making sure we can see their self-beauty in a world that tells us, what's beautiful and what's not beautiful, right? So all those different things. But honestly, the oratory contest, I think, is what spurred me to want to enter more because I had to redeem myself. I had to show people that I could speak and speak well and do it in front of a crowd. So I think all of it ties back to something. And I told you I wasn't gonna fret. Yeah, turn into what else could I do to make myself greater and make myself better. But I'm so grateful and so thankful for that experience. To your point, I think there's a connotation around it. But I think because, again, as we go back to it, like, I think we really know everyone's journey or stories into why they do the pageant. They see the outwardness, and on the outside, it looks superficial just because of how it portrays. But the inside, like, I think that's where I kind of got my first taste of like sisterhood outside of like my school community with like others, which was a beautiful thing. And then again, I had to challenge myself. Right? Like you have people paying for tickets. You have people sponsoring you. How do you be your best self?
Oh my gosh.
Got a bang for their buck. And that's kind of what propelled me.
Wow. Okay. That is none of the answer I was expecting. I really had a thought, well, she probably went this route. You are beautiful. You are innately beautiful. Your light just comes streaming out and you have so much joy in your face, and it's just like, well, this would seem like a natural place for you to, and everything else.
I think people have to remember though with beauty pageants, especially when it's TV, like even just walking in a swimsuit to me is like you have to build a confidence to do that. Like I applaud ladies to do that, especially because ladies, stuff happens with our bodies, right?
So you're finding arenas, you're putting yourself into everything for whatever reason. You go after anything. Is there one thing that you just went, nah, I can't. It's too much. I'm not going to go out there and I'm not going to do the fill in the blank.
It's funny you say this because and of course I'm one of the people that think I can always do everything. Something I get asked a lot is acting.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
But it's funny because again, I think as a broadcast, like I can turn myself on. I know how to do me. as an actor, you're asked to go into different emotions and roles that aren't necessarily you.
Right.
I don't know how to do that. I'll be honest. Give me a commercial. I can do a commercial, but like a movie, like cry, like your saddest moment. Like, I don't know how to just turn that on. And I'm a smiler by trade, but that's worked with me, like getting into a still face.
Right.
So hard.
Your resting face.
Yeah. It's like, it's in. So like the movie, like, cry and then.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good point.
So,
right.
So it's like I said, as a broadcaster, I think actually people think like, oh, acting would work for you. I think, not saying I would never do it, right? I'm never going to say never, but acting to me is something I think like, it's just not me right now.
Yeah.
Right now, like, my thoughts, my current state, it's happiness, right? It's good vibes, it's positivity. So I think acting is probably the one that way. And sorry if anybody wants to reach out to me about acting.
Yeah. I could see why they ask you, for sure. But I think it would be difficult for you to like turn yourself off. I had a young actress, she was in a film that Afro-Latino director, Nika Montañez, and he wrote this role for her. Well, he wrote this role, a very strong Afro-Latino role, which you have to give so many kudos to a man doing that. Yeah, the lead role is this right respect, and she walked into her first acting job. She's a model, and she does her thing. She does, it's very eclectic, just like you. And but it was her first acting role, and she's a fireball. I mean, she is just like, and she's 5'2", and you're just like, it's impossible. It's impossible that all the energy and happiness is in 5'2". Confidence and strength, and just go after it.
Love that.
Ashley Rose Nicholas. Ashley Rose Nicholas. And when you watch the movie, which is The Burden of 9 Lives, it's on Prime Video.
Nice. I'm gonna have to watch that.
You have to watch it. When you watch the movie, and she's in person just like you, just happy and smiley and powerful and confident. But then you see her in the movie and you're like, where did that come from? How did you do that? Because it will move you. It will move you. It will give you chills. Yeah. So you have a chat, you and her. Call Ashley up. So
it's something people would be like, Kelsey, is this you? I remember like I always have my hair down. Like it's always like everyone knows if I like long, straight, like or big. Like I'm a Diana Ross fiend, and I did a magazine cover. My hair was like slicked back and like you couldn't see. Like everyone was like, Kelsey, like they were so in shock. So I feel like I would get the same reaction if I did a film or movie.
Yeah,
where I'm not being this way, because it would. It probably would be a good challenge. I just know, like right now, I just don't.
You've got enough on your plate. You've got enough on your plate right now. You have so many things going on. But when you speak to teaching the students, what are you teaching? And what compelled that? Is it to get more people into the broadcasting? Is it to bring fresh ideas to how broadcasting should be?
I love this question. Yeah. So this year, and it's near and dear to my heart because it's a course I built from scratch. I made the
course.
It's called Intro to Sports Writing and Reporting. It's the first time that it's being offered at the university. So I teach in George Washington University, Compton, DC. I teach an 8 a.m. class. I work in sports, and they're crazy. So shout out to my students that come on Thursday to hang with me at 8 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
To be an early person. I think it means a lot to me because when you teach, like you're empowered with the next generation. And it means a lot to me now, especially because journalism has been under attack. There's people who have lost trust in media. There's misinformation and disinformation. Sorry, folks, fake news is a term, but not an official word. And I want to make sure that we're teaching journalists how to do their job right in the current climate that we're living in. Sports are a powerful vehicle and mechanism. We think about it. Sports is kind of our universal language. That's why we have the Olympics, right? It's kind of the one that really brings the world together. The FIFA World Cup, like sports has been that vehicle. And then I think about the diversity initiatives that are under attack. Like marginalized groups, right? That are women. And I have mostly women in my class, which is actually inspiring, right? I don't
Wow.
have comes in my class, but it's inspiring. I think I've had young women come up to me, and say what it means to learn from me. And then, of course, I want them to be greater and better. I don't take it lightly. I think teaching is the most important role that I have. Essentially, like, and you think about what role teachers played for you. And, I shared this in a past interview, but I never had a Black woman journalism teacher growing up.
Yeah.
And so I think for me to be what I didn't see and to be able to, again, you learn so much from young people as well. So I think to have a joint effort, a joint venture together with these students, it's been an incredible path. It's been an incredible journey. And I'm thankful. This is my second year at the university. I'm also thankful for the university that has entrusted in me right early on to lead this, and really honestly to leave my legacy.
Wow. Yeah. 2 points there. Put yourself out there. You never know who you're talking to. You never know who's seeing you. You never know who knows who. You've touched on a question, and it was burning in my mind the second you said that you were teaching young people. And first of all, look, can we just sit in the pride? George Washington University. Hello. I mean, hello. Let's sit in that. That is.
It means a lot.
Wow. That is huge.
And I'm thankful, like going back to your question before, like what industry is the hardest or was the hardest to kind of gain that, like, kind of
support. Yeah.
When I went to George Washington, the academia field was the complete opposite. I had like the co-teachers or the other teachers I came in with, the other professors, like we have a sisterhood. So like we have our group chat, we meet like, throughout the semester. Like I have support.
Wow.
And it's been beautiful.
That could be so different depending on what you're teaching. So I'm so grateful that you found that camaraderie and support in what should still be a very competitive area of teaching.
I mean, it's like you get into it and you don't think about it. I think everybody's like, oh, do you want tenure and all these things? I'm like, I haven't even thought about that. It's enjoying like the atmosphere. But like you hear these discussions and like we have to be in a union, and all those things happen. But I'm just honestly enjoying the journey right now. I'll work on like the other stuff.
That's
like
business. Launching. This is my passion.
Passion, like you over something like I'm enjoying the space that I'm in. I'm enjoying like inspiring these young people's lives, being a resource and asset to them. And so I'm in the moment with it. But it's the most important role that I have, and I'm so thankful that I was able to leave my legacy at a large institution like George Washington.
Yeah, George Washington. Now, in the class, what are they bringing to the table that is new, like you didn't see coming because it's not here yet in the larger world? What are they bringing to you that's like making you think like, oh, I didn't know I had to prepare you for this?
Yeah. I think one thing I love at George Washington, the students are from everywhere. I have about 4 international students this year.
Oh.
From Paris, through India, like everything. And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like I know I have 2 students from Paris, and they were saying like they didn't have sports journalism at their university, and they were so excited to come to George Washington and be able to take this course because they were like at their schools we had to take like a sports management course, but there was no sports journalism specifically. And I think to be able to offer that, something that again it's not offered in another country, this country, and are able to take it, it's special. But I think also just like the era that they're growing up in, right? Like we talked about earlier, they're growing up in a social media era. They're growing up in an era where journalism, again, like it's unfortunately like with the advent of AI, with budget cuts, there was an industry you always do see jobs being cut. They do still see the beauty. They still have the innocence, right? And they want to do it right. They're not like these companies just want to get stuff out quickly. Like they want to put the work in, and I'm thankful for that. Going back to your question, like. This is why I love the opportunity. What power do we have? What role do we have in today's society? And how do we make sure we have attention and coverage? And maybe sometimes in newsrooms where you're fighting still for that coverage. Yeah. Right. To get attention to. So it's a beautiful thing. And I love it. My students this year has made me think about rugby and cricket because they're going to have an international class. So that's true. Honestly, I don't think about as much.
Right.
I'm thinking about it now. And I'm like, okay, how do we do this? Where can we insert this in? And so. As I said, it's a mutually joint.
I love it.
Effort.
Yeah, I love it. So how do we, as the audience, support teams beyond viewership? Because that gets put behind a paywall sometimes. That can be difficult. So what other ways is there for supporting all different sports? Let's lean into the female sports. And where do you find this information?
Oh, yeah. I think this is great. But I will say with viewership, though, you are correct But I will say, as much as you can, those viewership numbers do matter. So like we just have the Unrivaled League that just launched, right? Women's 3-on-3 basketball. Slowly. And some of the critics are pointing to the viewership numbers. And they're like, well, the WNBA average, like, this many millions of viewers. The Unrivaled League had like 330,000 viewers. But this is, again, brand new league.
Brand new. They used to say that about the WNBA too, right?
And the WNBA has grown, right? It's a new a Friday night, again, you have to think about the context. So I do think viewership matters, and that's kind of the easiest way to support. And I think the other great thing you can do now, especially now because it's so easy to reach journalists, you can write the papers, you can tweet at your favorite journalists. People send me stories all the time, right? My contact information is very visible. It's not hard. It's not hard to reach journalists. Hey, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. Hey, KNN. This is happening in my community. I would love for you to come out and cover. One of the things I had a chance to do was I was a refugee soccer league that I thought on Facebook.
Wow.
I reached out to the woman. We email. She's on my show. We're talking about it. So I can't think, like, even just tagging somebody in a post, right? Making sure they're aware, because I can't see, right?
Sure.
Social media makes it so easy. You can send somebody a message on LinkedIn. You can tweet them. You can send them an Instagram DM. You can just tag them in a post. Like, I think it's easier than ever now. I think that's a way that you can support.
Our last question for you. I mean, we know a lot about you in the sense that you have got a foot in every door for your reasons of just hard work ethic, of seeing yourself out there, really affecting such beautifully positive ways to other people, to society, to the next generation.
Yeah.
And what I'd love to know is, what is something that we would never guess about you after hearing you talk today?
So I don't know if anybody I guess there's two. And I'll say a fun one first, and I'll say a more serious one. Fun one, maybe they kind of know, but I am a poetry lover. So I'm a person, and I haven't got to do this, but one thing I miss in life right now is just being able to write poetry. And I would love to do open mic nights. I have not got to write a poem in years. I am a poet by heart and nature. So I would love that. I don't know if people know that. I know I'm a broadcaster, I love writing and reading, but I'm a poet by nature. But I think probably the other thing that I want to make sure folks know that I probably don't know is goes back to I'm such an advocate for important issues in the community. And so one of the things that I'm so blessed that I got to be part of last year here in DC, it's called Lisa's Law, and I got to testify in front of DC Council. And essentially, Lisa's Law is to ensure that foster youth who have to move from home to home won't have to use trash bags or just any bag they can find. It would be entitled to at least a piece of luggage to be able to move their stuff. I work with a foster youth organization. I have mentored foster youth individuals. I have friends that are former foster youth, and one of the ladies that led the charge, Lisa, she's former DC Rotary Club president, but Lisa Cohen. But I don't know if people know my advocacy part, right? I think people just think just out there for fun and doing these fun things. But I think there's a lot that I get to do advocacy-wise. That's probably one of the more public ones. But I think behind the scenes, again, inspired by my father, I am pushing for a lot of change. And so that's just one example. Again, I can't just sit idle. I'm a person, I have to be involved. And so I think it was important for me to be part of that. And again, just glad I was able to use my voice, my platform, my purpose, my passions to be able to push, honestly, for what should be a common necessity for our young people who are going through just obviously more difficult times.
Oh, that's so beautiful. It is so beautiful. I love that. And it emanates from you. The influence you had. I want to emphasize the youth, because I think it's so much more difficult at their age now than when it was for me, for sure.
Yeah.
I even think for my daughters, it just wasn't this painful and this threatening, and just being seen. They just want to be seen and loved. I think that is the fact that it took this long and that it took a law. Yeah. It just speaks to where we're at, people. I got a lot more to do. That's beautiful.
I want people to know about it. I want people to support it. I want them not in your community. Again,
right. That's the first thought I came up with. I'm going to go look it up. California. I was like, let's see what we're doing. It's degrading. It's
the meaning. I mean, could you imagine, right? And think about it. When you see somebody with a bag on, immediately what your mind goes to, right? Being a young person.
Go through
a difficult situation. you're throwing them out into the unknown. It just doesn't make sense when you think about the supports that community and governments have.
And how do people reach out to you? What do you like to use as your contact platform?
I always give my website is always the best way, KelseyNicoleNelson.com. I'm on social media, The Real K Nelson, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. Kelsey Nicole Nelson if you're old school, LinkedIn, Facebook. But yes, please reach out, please connect. I'm always looking to grow and to expand storytelling. At the end of the day, I'm a storyteller, I'm a communicator. So, please send those items my way. And I'm excited to make new social friends and hopefully real friends. If you're yes.
Oh, Kelsey, thank you so much for your time.
Of course.
For sharing so much knowledge that you have, for really inspiring us to do more, to get out and do it, and to always use it in authenticity. I love it. Thank you.
Only be you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
There you have it. A redefining month of women's history in our current day with Kelsey Nicole Nelson, teaching us to have faith and seek the best version of ourselves that the world will remember and respect. Be sure to reach out to Kelsey at her website and social media handles that will be in the show notes on this episode to bring this energy to your next event. And remember to empower sports locally by sharing your own stories with her. Wouldn't it be great to have Kelsey broadcasting your local team to their next win? Join us next week as we start our April lineup with Spring Awakening, women sharing their stories of rebirth and renewal against all odds. Step into your truth. Ciao. We love that you have subscribed to this podcast and continue to champion women who understand the life of all things Latina. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the Encuentras Your Voice podcast so you don't miss a single episode. They will automatically drop into your listening device each week, and we'd really appreciate if you take a moment to add to the reviews that we already have. Tell us what you like, tell us what you're hoping to hear, and we will get there. Share this with your friends and family to help us grow our comunidad, and keep following us on our social media to Encuentras Your Voice. We are so grateful to you for helping us grow this community and would love to learn of all the amazing Latinas who you know are creating the world we thrive in. So reach out to me on social media at Encuentras Your Voice, and let's keep leaning into our authenticity in pride. Help us make Encuentras Your Voice the place where you are 100% represented.